Have you ever sensed that intimacy is more than just a physical act? That beneath the surface of our bodies lies an invisible thread connecting souls? Carl Jung, the great psychologist, taught us that what happens between two people in moments of closeness is far beyond what the eyes can see. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed, Jung once said. And it is in this invisible transformation that the true essence of connection lives. When you share an intimate moment, you open a door to your unconscious, the deepest part of your being. This is where your true self resides, not the persona you show the world, but the authentic, sometimes hidden parts of you. Have you noticed how sometimes, after intimacy, there is a subtle energy that lingers, almost like a silent conversation between souls? That energy is real, and it speaks louder than any words or physical gestures. Now, look inside yourself after such moments. Do you find anxiety creeping in? A desperate need for control or reassurance? Jung warned that such reactions send signals far beyond the conscious mind. The other person senses the tremor of insecurity, even if they cannot name it. But what if instead of falling into this anxious spiral, you choose to return to yourself with compassion? What if you embrace your feelings fully and respect your own presence without demanding anything in return? This is where the power lies. When you become a mirror of self-respect and acceptance, you reflect something the other person might have forgotten to see within themselves. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole and true to yourself. And it is on this path that real attraction is born, not from desperation or need, but from the radiance of inner wholeness. Think of your silence after intimacy not as absence, but as presence. Not as emptiness, but as a sacred space charged with dignity. This presence touches something deep in others, their own unconscious, their shadow, those hidden parts they often deny. When a man encounters a woman who holds herself firmly, neither chasing nor shutting down emotionally, something shifts within him. He feels drawn not to the body alone, but to the emotional state, the profound aliveness that you embody. Jung taught us about the animus and anima, the masculine and feminine energies within all of us. Often, what we seek in others is the missing part of ourselves. A man might crave the emotional openness he suppresses. A woman, the strength she hides. When you stand grounded in your essence, you awaken in others a longing to reconnect with their own forgotten depths. This is the true magnetic power, the power of being authentically whole. So after intimacy, instead of chasing, instead of needing, choose to return to yourself. Care for your body gently, hold your heart with patience, honor your soul with reverence. Practice conscious silence. Feel what is, without judgment. Because in that sacred inner movement, you become unforgettable. You become the home where souls recognize themselves. As Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Have you ever tried to simply be that presence? To hold your wholeness as a quiet force that draws rather than pushes? The transformation begins there. You become the living invitation for true connection, a connection that goes far beyond physicality and touches the soul. Have you ever experienced a silence so profound it felt louder than any words? Silence after intimacy is not emptiness or absence. It is a language itself, full of meaning and depth. Carl Jung reminded us that in all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. And this secret order often reveals itself in the quiet spaces between connection and distance. When two souls meet in intimacy, something sacred unfolds. But the moments that follow are equally important. They are the fertile ground where inner transformation begins. This silence, which many fear or rush to fill, holds a power that can't be hurried or forced. It asks for patience, for trust, and for a deep respect for the invisible processes unfolding within each person. You might be tempted to break the silence with questions, explanations, or demands for reassurance. But Jung warns us that such interference can interrupt the natural flow of growth. When you rush the process, you risk turning a delicate unfolding into a desperate chase. Instead, try to hold space, not only for him, but for yourself. This is not passive waiting. It is active presence. It is allowing the soul to breathe and listen. Jung said, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insolvable. They can never be solved, but only outgrown." The silence after intimacy is where outgrowing begins. It is where old patterns dissolve and new awareness takes root. Have you noticed how, in silence, emotions surface that words could never reach? Nostalgia, longing, confusion, hope. They swirl together like a hidden river beneath calm waters. This inner river is your unconscious mind communicating, slowly, without pressure. When you honor this silence, you invite healing and growth, both in yourself and in the one who shared the moment with you. Imagine this silence as a sacred pause, a breath held between heartbeats. What happens here is alchemical. The raw experience of intimacy transforms into deep self-knowledge. Jung called this process the individuation, the journey toward becoming your true self. Silence is the crucible where this transformation simmers. Do not fear the void that silence may bring. Our modern world teaches us to fear emptiness, to fill every moment with noise and distraction. But Jung believed that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. This acceptance often emerges in silence, when you face your fears, your wounds, your shadows, without running away. In that stillness, you can reconnect with your deepest self. You can listen to your soul's whispers and rediscover your inner strength. When you do this, you no longer wait anxiously for someone else's return. Instead, you become a lighthouse, steady and calm, shining your own light. This silence also allows the other person to feel the weight and value of what you shared. It gives space for his own inner movement, his own questions and awakenings. Jung believed the psyche seeks balance. Sometimes, this requires stepping back, letting time and silence work their magic. So next time you find yourself in that fragile space after intimacy, don't rush to fill it. Embrace the silence with dignity. Trust the invisible process that is unfolding beneath the surface. Because in this quiet, meaningful silence, love is not lost. It is being transformed. Have you ever felt the weight of solitude after a moment of deep connection? That sense of being alone, not as punishment, but as a sacred space where transformation quietly happens. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." Solitude after intimacy is that mysterious alchemy, where the soul processes, integrates, and begins to grow. It's easy to fear solitude, especially when the world teaches us to chase constant connection and distraction. Yet, Jung's wisdom invites us to see solitude not as emptiness, but as fertile ground. When you retreat into yourself after sharing your deepest self with another, you give your inner world a chance to breathe, to rearrange, and to heal. In this alchemy of solitude, the raw experience of intimacy transforms into something far more profound. It is no longer just a memory of physical closeness, but a deeper encounter with your own essence. Jung described this as part of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming whole, by integrating all parts of yourself. The light and the shadow, the conscious and the unconscious. During solitude, you might face uncomfortable emotions, fear, sadness, doubt. But these are not signs of weakness. They are the fire in which your inner gold is forged. Jung taught us that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And solitude is where you confront this truth. It's where you meet your own vulnerability and discover your resilience. This process demands courage. It requires you to resist the urge to fill the void with distractions or desperate messages. Instead, it calls for presence with yourself and your feelings. Jung reminds us that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Solitude offers this mirror inward, a chance to uncover what your soul truly needs and desires. You may wonder, does he feel the same solitude? Does he wrestle with the same questions? Perhaps. But the gift you give yourself by honoring solitude is priceless. You grow spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, becoming more complete and less dependent on others for your sense of worth. This completeness changes everything. It shifts your energy from neediness to freedom, from fear to love, from confusion to clarity. And it's this inner transformation that magnetically draws people who resonate with your true self, not because you chase them, but because you have become unforgettable. So, embrace the alchemy of solitude. See it as a sacred pause, a time for deep self-reflection and healing. Trust that in this quiet, something invisible yet powerful is taking shape within you. Something that will shape your future relationships, your self-worth, and your capacity to love and be loved. Remember, Jung said, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Solitude, after intimacy, is that moment to look deeply, without fear, and begin the most important relationship, the one with yourself. Have you ever noticed how the deepest relationships act like mirrors, reflecting parts of ourselves we often avoid? Carl Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. When intimacy breaks the surface of everyday masks, it reveals not only light, but also shadows, those hidden parts of our psyche that we sometimes deny or fear. In this chapter, we explore the delicate dance between shadow and reflection. When you open yourself fully to another, you don't just show your light, you invite your shadow to step into the light as well. It's uncomfortable, even painful. The shadow carries old wounds, insecurities, and fears, parts of you that you might have buried deep. But Jung believed that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In other words, healing begins when you bravely face your shadow, not reject it. This reflected shadow in a relationship can trigger reactions you didn't expect. You might feel misunderstood, hurt, or defensive. These moments are not random. They are invitations from your unconscious to see yourself more clearly. The person who triggers you isn't your enemy. They are a messenger, holding up a mirror to the parts of you that need attention and care. Ask yourself, what parts of yourself are stirred when you feel upset or uneasy in a connection? What old wounds are touched? This self-reflection is the key to growth. Jung called this process individuation, a journey of becoming whole by integrating your shadow with your conscious self. It's the path from fragmentation to wholeness. It's important to resist the urge to blame the other or run away from discomfort. Instead, lean into the reflection with curiosity and compassion. Allow yourself to feel without judgment. Jung reminds us that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That true self includes your shadow, your fears, your imperfections. By embracing this shadow work, you don't just deepen your relationship with others, you deepen your relationship with yourself. This honesty and acceptance create a sacred space where real intimacy can thrive. Without it, love remains surface level, vulnerable to being shattered by misunderstandings and fear. You might worry that facing your shadow will push others away, but Jung believed the opposite. In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. By finding order in your inner chaos, you bring authenticity and emotional maturity to your relationships, which attracts people who resonate with your true essence. So, the next time you feel triggered, remember, it's not a sign of failure, but an opportunity, a chance to learn, to grow, and to become more whole. The shadow is not something to fear, but to embrace as part of your sacred journey.
As Jung taught, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. In the mirror of relationships, your shadow and your light come together, showing you the way back to yourself.
Have you ever wondered why some people return to us? Not because we begged or chased, but because something inside them pulls them back. Carl Jung said, "The human psyche is constantly seeking balance and harmony. When a man experiences a connection that goes beyond the surface, something real and deep, it leaves an imprint on his unconscious. This imprint is not easily erased by distractions or the passage of time. It is a mark of the soul meeting the soul. But here's the subtle truth. His return is not a simple choice or a rational decision. It is an inner need, a silent call from a place deeper than pride or ego. Jung reminds us, true growth requires sacred time, contemplative silence, and yes, transformative pain. That pain, the aching nostalgia, is part of the process. It allows him to recognize the value of what was shared. If we try to rush this process, demanding explanations, sending anxious messages, or trying to convince with logic, we interrupt his inner evolution. We give answers before he's ready to ask the right questions inside himself. This weakens the transformative power of the connection. Instead, when you respect his space with quiet dignity and don't abandon yourself, you create the perfect environment for a conscious return. More importantly, you protect your energy and heal yourself deeply. You grow spiritually because you are already whole within yourself. And that wholeness makes any reunion more meaningful, should it happen. This might feel hard. Our culture pushes us to seek instant answers and to fill every void with noise. But Jung teaches that the void, the silence, is fertile ground. It is where consciousness sprouts, and the soul can hear what the world's constant noise hides. So after intimacy, don't panic. Use that time to nurture yourself fully. Read, walk in nature, savor quiet moments. Reconnect with your dreams and soul friends. Meanwhile, an invisible inner movement is unfolding in him, preparing his way back. Time is not your enemy. It is the soil where consciousness ripens. When he returns, if he returns, he will be different, more present, more aware, ready to meet you without masks or defenses. Remember, not all men return, and that is okay. The real victory is in who you become while you wait with grace. Jung said, every relationship is a revealing mirror. If the mirror shatters, look at the shards with curiosity. What did this connection reveal about you? What wounds surfaced? What shadows came to light, ready to be integrated? That self-knowledge is priceless. Even if he doesn't return, you gain yourself, clearer, more compassionate, and stronger. This version of you, whole and mature, naturally attracts those ready to meet you on the same level. If he's not ready, life will prepare him in time. You don't need to lose yourself trying to teach someone to see or value you. Be authentic and trust your path. Jung believed kindred souls recognize each other when they're ready for true love. That magic comes not from desperation or anxiety, but from pure truth, the peaceful knowing that you don't need to prove anything. After intimacy, return to yourself with love. Care for your feelings without judgment. Honor your openness without regret. Trust what was awakened in that connection. He may fight it, take time, but the soul's call is stronger than pride and fear. When he returns, and many do, you'll know because you'll be someone who chooses consciously, not out of need, but from strength. This, Jung said, is the highest sign of emotional maturity. After all the noise, the waiting, the invisible inner shifts, comes a moment, a silent moment, when a choice is made. This choice is not shouted or demanded. It is born quietly within the soul. Carl Jung said, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. This order reveals itself in stillness, in the calm space between longing and knowing." Have you ever noticed how the most important decisions often come not in loud declarations, but in gentle whispers of the heart? That's because true choice is not about forcing outcomes or convincing others. It is about alignment with your own essence. When you return to yourself after intimacy, when you honor your own needs and boundaries, you create a sacred space for clarity to emerge. This clarity is the fruit of courage, the courage to stand in your truth, even if it means standing alone. Jung reminded us, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Awakening means choosing what nourishes your soul rather than what fills a void out of fear. Perhaps you realize that waiting for someone else's return can no longer be your center. The choice then is to embrace your wholeness as it is, without conditions. This is not resignation, it is liberation. It is the alchemy of turning longing into self-respect, vulnerability into strength, and silence into wisdom. In this silence, you discover that love is not a possession or a contract, but a deep respect for the journey of two separate souls. As Jung taught, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This transformation begins within you. Choosing yourself in silence does not close the door to love. It opens it wider. Because when you are grounded in your own truth, you attract those who are ready to meet you fully, without masks, without fear. This choice invites presence, authenticity, and deep connection. So, dear viewer, what does your silence say? What choice waits quietly inside you? Remember, every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. Do not become addicted to the need for someone else's validation. Instead, choose the freedom of self-trust. This is the highest form of love, for yourself and for others. A love that honors the mystery, respects the pace of growth, and embraces the unfolding with grace. As you close this chapter, take a moment to breathe deeply. Feel the power of your silent choice. You are becoming someone who does not seek completion outside, but lives from a place of inner completeness. And in that completeness lies the true magic of connection. If this journey resonated with something deep inside you, take a quiet breath. Let it land. Let it soften the places in you that once begged to be seen. And now ask yourself, what would life feel like if you never again had to chase love, prove your worth, or beg for attention. This is the invitation. Not to become harder, but to become whole. So, if you're ready to explore more, to dive deeper into the subtle alchemy of the soul, subscribe to this channel. Watch the previous videos. They all weave into this larger tapestry. Every chapter is a mirror, a doorway, a return. You're not alone on this path, and the journey inward always leads you home.